Okay, welcome to Chapter 8. This time we're going to talk about friendships and family ties. When we're dealing with friends and family, we have to remember that there's some unique qualities of friends. It includes the fact that we see each other as equals. We don't see one as superior to the other one. You can have unlimited number of friends, although some research says about 150 people is all we can really keep up with. Friendships are designed to suit needs. Sometimes it's physical help that you need. Sometimes it's just having a friend to talk to. And then the definition of a family is to share affection, share resources, and think of themselves as a family unit. And remember, not all families have to be biological. You may end up with a family that you've chosen over the years. Now, when we evaluate friendship potential, there's several things we take into account. Similarity, which means are we similar? Do we have a lot of things in common? Complementary, which means do we complement each other? Sometimes there's the opposites attract, and sometimes those opposites can be complementary to each other. So what you're lacking, that person helps you make up for. Mutual liking is important. You want to make sure you like them and that they like you. Some level of admiration. And finally, self-disclosure, which we talked about a couple chapters ago, which is sharing information about yourself. You don't need to be the perfect friend to be a good friend. First impressions can mislead you, so if someone made a horrible first impression, that doesn't mean they're not going to make a great friend after a while. Perfection can be a turnoff when you're trying to be too perfect of a friend, because then sometimes we have a tendency to lord our perfection over the other person. It's not all about communication, but it's a lot about communication. And don't forget to make an effort to so you can bridge the differences between you and be a better friend if you had a little bit of a rough patch with one of your friends. Now, we have different types of friends. Friends can be short-term or long-term, which means you might have this friend, for a short period of time. Maybe you had a work assignment and you became friends with someone you were working on the work assignment with. And sometimes friends are long-term, which they're always there for us. You can have different levels of self-disclosure with your friends. So you can have low or high levels of disclosure. Low self-disclosure is a more private friendship, and high disclosure friendships, you're more open with each other. We can either be doing or being oriented. Okay, so you have some friends that you tend to do activities with, and you have other friends that you do other things with. Some friends can be low obligation, which means they're not asking for too much of an obligation from you, and the friendship can just kind of pick up whenever, you hit a dry spell, and you just kind of pick up and go like nothing went wrong. High obligation is the kind of friend who is always asking you to do things. You have to feel obligated to do things, whether they be social acts or favors or things like that. And some friendships have frequent contact where you're talking regularly, and other friendships have occasional contact where you're kind of just talking occasionally when an occasion comes up for you guys to talk. Now, here's some interesting things about gender and friendship. There's a lot of similarities between men's and women's same-sex friendships, but male relationships tend to involve activities, tasks, or events. So when men do things with their friends, they're more likely doing activities. And men tend to have friendships based on activities. So men will have fishing buddies and working on the truck buddies and off-roading buddies and, those kind of things. And there's usually some kind of activity involved. That means that we're going to be communicating more about the activity or the task or the event. Now, female relationships are more likely to engage in emotional support and self-disclosure. So when women get together, they may do an activity occasionally, but a lot of times they're there just to support each other and to talk. Men and women can be friends, but women are the ones who can more easily keep the friendship platonic. Research has shown that it's a lot more likely for men to harbor secret feelings for female friends. And the contact hypothesis proposed that prejudice tends to diminish when people have personal contact with individuals they may have otherwise stereotyped. So you may have stereotyped someone, but because you got to know them, you actually diminish the stereotypes. Now, when we're communicating with friends online, there's some benefits, but there's some disadvantages. The benefits include you have added diversity in online friendships. You're not just stuck with being friends with the people that you're around. You can, there's a whole globe out there of people that you might be able to become friends with online. We're usually less likely to self-disclose online initially, and then as we get closer, we may be more willing to self-disclose. It's a lot less intimidating to have to meet people online. You don't have to put yourself out there and actually go talk to them. You just, send them a request and start chatting with them. It's a lot more convenient. And Dunbar's number, which is 150, we tend to have more online friendships than in-person friendships. And Dunbar's number, 150, just means that 150 is about where we can keep our friend limit of people that we can truly call a friend. Now, here's some interesting things about parenting relationships. First thing we're going to look at is two different types of family communication patterns. The first pattern is the conversation orientation. In this type of family, there's open talking about things and listening to each other. Okay? Things like curfews and things can be negotiated. Then there's conformity orientation families. In these, teens are expected to follow their parents' rules, beliefs, and values without challenging them. And we also have three different types of parenting styles. We have authoritarian parenting, which expect unquestioning obedience because I say so. We have authoritative, which is firm, clear, and strict, but encourage open communication. Research shows that this is the style that fosters children's happiness and adaptability in life. And then permissive parenting styles is not many rules to follow, not much structure. Now, when it comes to sibling relationships, qualities or types of relationships, we have supportive relationships where siblings support each other. Sometimes we have longing sibling relationships where you were best friends growing up, and then as you grew up and got older, you kind of grew apart a little bit. Sometimes siblings can be competitive. Sometimes they're just apathetic to each other. And finally, sometimes siblings can have a downright hostile environment. So what can we do to strengthen the family ties? Share family stories. This leads to a shared sense of identity. Listen to each other. Practice good habits of interpersonal communication. Negotiate privacy rules. Give some space, but not too much, because you don't want to be able to overlook dangerous behaviors when they first start popping up. Teach conflict management. Help children solve conflicts which are mutually satisfying. Don't rely on them to solve the conflict, but help them manage the conflict effectively. Share more confirming messages, and as a family, have fun together. So this is a quick look at Chapter 8, Family and Friendships. This is Matt Malloy signing off.